Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another brand new, fantastic episode of the Marauder Morning Podcast. I'm here with two of my favorite guys, Mark and Ryan. How are you guys doing today?
Good as always, you know.
Good as always. Maybe a little extra good. This week we're on our reading break, so we're all, if you noticed, we're all a little more relaxed. We're all a little more fresh-faced because we got the week off classes. So yeah, you guys feeling a little any better because of that, or just the regular good still?
Probably a little more lazy.
Just a little more lazy. Waking up a little later. Yeah. I woke up a lot closer to recording time today than usual. But we're here. We're awake and we're ready to go. This is the Marauder Morning Podcast. A couple exciting things we're going to hit today. We're going to start by going to our interview with Marshall Ferguson, formerly of TSN 1150. And then we're going to go talk about the Pebble Beach Open that happened just a few days ago, just last week. We're going to recap that a little bit, courtesy of our man Ryan. And then we got a draft today, inspired by a Bleacher Report article we saw a couple days ago that was titled "Players We'd Like to See Ring Chase." So we're going to do a draft of the players we'd like to see ring chase coming up here. That all sound good to you guys?
Sounds excellent.
Sounds excellent. Right on. So let's start off by throwing it to our interview with Marshall Ferguson. He had a lot of cool insights on the shutdown of TSN 1150, what he's got going on next, and of course it's always good to talk to a former CFMU host. So let's head over to that interview right now. Enjoy. Here we are on Marauder Morning. This will be the longest intro I've ever done for anyone, probably. He's a McMaster football legend, a CFMU legend, a Hamilton broadcasting legend, a new father. And if you've been a longtime listener of the show, you'll probably recognize him because he used to host it. It's Marshall Ferguson. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good. I think my voice is deeper from all the whiskey over the last decade since I ended up leaving Marauder Mornings. Back when I was doing CFMU stuff, it's funny, sometimes I go back to what I was doing on YouTube and the the videos. It's like, is that me? Because I'm like shaved head, because I'm in like football training mode, and I'm wearing like ripped jeans and a muscle shirt. I'm like, what the hell was I doing? I don't understand half the time. But thank you for the kind intro. I think legend is high praise. I played around a lot of legends, and I was very fortunate to be around a lot of good people that were on the coaching staff there. So that helped me accomplish a lot as soon as I got out of university.
Well, we're not going to accept that political answer. We're just going to go with legend and stay with it there. We're not going to let you spread the credit around.
And by the way, Lindsay Hamilton is the actual CFMU legend. Like, right. She's the one who's actually done something big. Like, she's worked for Disney. She's gone around, done promotional events. She's at Sports Center, and I'm the guy who got fired from 1150 in town. So I feel like she's the one who gets the legendary status. If there can only be one, I think we both agree it's Lindsay. Okay.
If we're all measuring ourselves against Lindsay Hamilton, it's hopeless. We're never going to get anywhere. So the legend bar has to be lower somewhere, and I'll set it at Marshall Ferguson. Marshall Ferguson is the legend bar. So yes, you mentioned it. The reason I'm talking to you today is the unfortunate shutdown. I mean, I don't know how you describe it, but the shutdown of TSN 1150, where you worked. Let's just start there. How are you feeling in the days afterwards, following the shutdown?
It's probably unnatural, but I'm glad I have mask on, because I was kind of giggling as I was being told that it was over. And the reason for that is that you understand this as being someone who works at CFMU and understands that like nothing is guaranteed, and it's always difficult to find your footing in media. And it feels like, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to come on here and say there's no jobs, everybody stop doing what you're doing, you're wasting your time and all that. That's not true. There are jobs for people that are talented and create their own path and think outside the box. But we did a lot of that at CFMU when I was there, and I was constantly pushing and trying to find different creative ways to use the medium. And I look back at the preliminary learnings that I had when I was there. It helped shape me. It helped get me the attention to the point where TSN called me. And it's crazy because they basically had two ways that they could have launched TSN 1150. One was to go out and get some big names and pay them a ton of money and launch it big and shiny and brand new, or they could go base budget and get a couple kids out of college. And that's what they did. And I was really lucky because I was one of the people that they got that were kind of that base budget. And it was like, hey, we need people for the station. And you seem to do a good enough job considering the money that we have available. So I got the opportunity. We ran with it. I went from afternoons with Steve Milton to afternoons with Louis B to afternoons with Jim Taddy to afternoons with Louis B and Jim Taddy to afternoons with Steve Milton and Jim Taddy and Louis B to middays to until I finally landed at the morning show, which is what I really felt at home in. It just morning radio is a different vibe. There's more energy to it. It's more of a free space to be able to make people just laugh and have fun. And I loved that. So I got to do that for 3 years on top of the other 3 years. I did 6 years total at the station. And it constantly felt like we were dodging bullets because the media market and the amount of sales that happen right now in different mediums, stuff is evolving right in front of us. And at times I felt like, yeah, you know what, we're going to get squeezed here at some point. So when it happened, I was just giggling because I was just so thankful. It wasn't like laughing at the station or laughing at Bell Media or anything. It was just, I was going, man, I'm about to walk out of here and I can't believe I got to work here for 6 years. This was crazy. I shouldn't have been given this opportunity. I shouldn't have been given these airwaves. I took political science when I was at McMaster. My degree, if you want to call it that, in broadcasting was CFMU, was sitting in that studio and figuring it out on the fly. And most of the time just making an ass of myself. But I was doing it and I was learning and I was developing every day. And then I went from that into getting an opportunity at an actual radio station that was actually, in people's cars and spread throughout. It had the TSN brand and the Ticats and the Marauders and the Bulldogs and so how I feel about it looking back, right from the second I got told, hey, gather your things and head out the door, to where I sit here today, a week later, is just super thankful because I don't understand how I was given the opportunity to learn. And my boss, Mike Neighbors, who's just the greatest programming director, said to me when I called him the other day, he goes, look at it as though you just finished a 6-year degree in radio, but you did it on live radio with thousands of people listening to you every day. I'm like, man, when you think about it that way, because I had never gone into education for broadcasting, journalism, any of that stuff, I'm like, it's a pretty badass internship. I got paid a pretty good amount of money to go in and basically be an intern and have a lot of fun with a lot of people. So I have no hard feelings at all whatsoever. I love the opportunity I was given, and I'm excited for what comes next for sure.
Yeah. And then I want to ask you about Twitter. Twitter seems to be the place you've been expressing a lot of yourself on the matter. I highly recommend anyone check out your Twitter over the last week or so. It's been awesome. The movie clips, I have to say, have been fantastic. Step Brothers, Zohan, you got it all in there. It's been awesome. Have you found that people, including other sportscasters and fans of the show, fans of yourself, do you find that they kind of share your lighthearted attitude? What's the response been like from colleagues and fans?
Yeah, it's a great question because it was something that I had to learn as I grew and I developed. I was really concerned for a long time about everybody liking me, because I think when we're in the early stages, we're constantly thinking, well, I have to make every single person that listens to me, I want to hook them and I want them to stay. When my boss, again, Mike Neighbors, incredible guy who helped develop me throughout my time at TSN 1150, he explained to me, he goes, you're not going to make everybody like you. Like, what do you mean? I want to make everybody. He goes, no. The people that don't like you will leave. The people that do like you will stay and be passionate about what you are. And because they're so passionate, they'll make up for the person that left, because they'll bring somebody else with them, because it's word of mouth, right? And so that for me has always been key to what I'm doing. Is I think you have to be true to yourself when you get into this business, because it's impossible to go on air several hours a day and fake it. You will feel like such a fraud, and you will feel like such an idiot by the time the day is done, because you're living this double life in your mind where it's like, what do I actually want to say versus what did I say? Now, you got to be, a little bit of a shield against swearing or doing things that are going to offend people unintentionally. You got to have some reservations, but that's part of being on radio. But I would say, first and foremost, you just be yourself. And if people like you, they'll stay. And it took us a while, I would say, but we found that audience that wanted to stick with myself and Kyle Mello, my co-host. And so that's why on Twitter, I have a whole different approach to Twitter in the last couple of years than I did for a long time. I used to think that Twitter, again, was about pleasing people, and the Ticats would sign somebody, and I would tweet out analysis because that's what really mattered. I'm like, man, people don't care. Don't take Twitter seriously. Don't take Instagram seriously or Facebook seriously. I'm like, a little tip for anybody listening to this, whether it's student radio or otherwise, social media doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, nothing about it matters. It's all fake. And the reason I say that is that I had a clip back in October that went viral, had 90,000 likes, and had it was just insane. It was a picture that I sent out of batting practice for the Oakland Athletics with this orange glowing sky in the background from the California wildfires that happened this summer. And I said, I think this is the picture of the year. This sums it up, because there's cardboard cutout humans watching baseball with no fans in the stands and this glowing orange sky in the background. I'm like, it's just this hellscape, right? And so I send that out and it goes viral. You know what I got out of that going viral?
No.
Nothing. Like, so why are we trying to go viral all the time? It's like, and that kind of changed my thinking on it, where I'm like, I finally cracked the code. I had, 1 million people that saw that photo with my name, and I click on the analytics of it on Twitter, and it's like, you got 40,000 clicks on your profile, and you got 150 new followers, and all these numbers, and I'm like, man, I did it. And then the next day comes and it doesn't matter. So That's why I was like, you know what? Twitter is for people that get me, that get my sense of humor, that get the show that we're doing, that understand how I approach Canadian football. They can be on the inside joke with me when I'm being lighthearted, as you say on Twitter, and everything else. If you don't get it, sorry, you don't get the joke, then you don't have to stick around. That's okay. Don't worry about it. But I think that's, to me at least, I know everybody approaches these things differently. To me, that's the way to approach using social media. I think our generation, and I include you and I in all of this, is we look at social media in such an incredibly unhealthy way. And it's funny too, because we're in this weird divide, right? Where older people that were in their 30s or 40s or 50s when social media came to be, they have this really weird perception of social media where, they're talking to their friends and family members, but they think they can post anything on it. It's like, no, that's not a thing. And then younger people have their complete own way of using social media that I can't wrap my hand around how many apps people have on their phone. For me, I'm like, you know what? I like being on Twitter. I don't give a damn about Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, otherwise. I don't need to spread my brand and mass post everything. I'm like, if I'm available and people know where to find me, that's all that matters. We'll go from there.
Right. And then I was going to ask you what's next for you, but you kind of jumped the gun on me this morning. I was going to ask you about Canadian football perspective, if there was anything you could possibly do with that. But you already broke the news. Go ahead and tell us what's going on with Canadian football perspective.
Yeah, I was originally planning to sell my body, and then I ended up. No, I've been working on this project, Canadian Football Perspective, for a while at CF Perspective on Twitter. We're on Instagram, but I don't run the Instagram because it's again, I don't even have the app on my phone. I sound like I'm 60 when I say that, but I deleted it and I was like, I just don't care anymore. But yeah, it was basically when I started working at TSN 1150. So for those that don't know the timeline, I played at MAC from 2010 to 2014.
Right.
And in 2015, I was given a job at TSN Radio, and then I started calling games for the Marauders. And I was the pre and post game host for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And so I was trying to do analysis of the Ticats. And as I was doing it throughout the year, I was realizing very quickly that there's not really good analysis available. Like you don't want to pull up a stat sheet and go, hey, Kevin Glenn's playing tonight. Here's his completion percentage. I'm like, yeah, but what does that tell me? That doesn't educate me on any of this. And so I just wanted to have a smarter conversation, and I wanted to have more information to work with. And I thought, well, if I feel that way, hi, Remy, here's my little labradoodle interrupting the conversation. But I thought if it was possible to have a smarter conversation that would benefit myself, then maybe other people would feel the benefit of that as well. And it's not an ego thing or I'm smarter than anybody thing. I'm not. And I'm not a math guy. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a dude who played football, who enjoyed playing football, who loves watching football, but I wanted more information. So I started the CF Perspective. It originally actually started as MarshallFerguson.com. And then I also had to push the ego to the side when I was like, nobody gives a damn if it's under my name. So I got rid of the name. I came up with a different name, different branding, all the rest, relaunched it in like 2018 or 19. I forget what it was. And it's just kind of been sitting there. I've had a couple of guys that were doing a podcast for me, Connor O'Neill and Wade Zanketta, who have done an amazing job with it. And I've always wanted to work a little bit more on it because I feel like there's so much room for growth in that idea of smart football analysis strictly for Canadians, and not just at the CFL level, at the U Sports level as well. I think that there's a great market for that. And I'm interested in seeing the culture of Canadian football as a whole grow, because I think a lot of people look at Canadian football and think, well, it's an old game and it's peaked. It's never going to be any better than it was before. I'm like, man, do you realize that we just started getting basically the things that have existed in NCAA football when it comes to equipment and exposure and television contracts, and all of that stuff has existed for 20 years maximum in U Sports football. It's been around for 50 in the NCAA. And obviously there's a difference in economy of scale where the NCAA is so much bigger, just like the NFL is to CFL.
Sure.
Doesn't make it any better, right? It means that it's an underexposed market right now. And again, I'm not a stock trader or a numbers guy, but although buy GameStop whenever possible is what I've heard. But I look exactly, yeah, straight to the moon. But I look at it as being, this is something that people want. I think it's underexposed, and I think that there's a want for a different type of analysis. So I created this Canadian football perspective, and my goal was just to have smart conversations and entertaining conversations. And when 1150 hit the dust last week, I decided basically within about 24 hours that was the direction that I wanted to take things, because A, the infrastructure was already there. Right. But B, it's a great product with a great idea, a great concept. And I think that's the heart of any growth industry, is having a great concept that you can use as your base to grow out of. And so I built out, as of this morning, when we're talking, a podcast network, basically, which is, it's the idea behind it is to give people CFL centric morning radio 5 days a week, which even saying it makes me smile, because the idea, it's like having a Sirius XM channel where you open up your car and you all of a sudden, and every single day it's the CFL is there waiting for you, but it's digital. It goes right to your phone and you can download it. And so it's got myself, I'm calling it the A block, had the Canadian little twist on it, but the A block is going to be on Mondays. And that's going to be basically long form interviews with people. Ettore Latanzio, who I played against from the University of Ottawa, is my guest in an episode that comes out today. Tuesdays and Thursdays is Connor and Wade, and they are doing a show that we're going to call the All Canadians. And then Wednesday is going to be myself and Derek Taylor from 620 CKRM in Regina. He is the stats man extraordinaire that did the details on SportsCenter, was a SportsCenter host. Now he's the voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he's going to end up joining me on this. And then my former co-host Kyle Mello is going to join me on Fridays. And it's great because, Monday is super CFL centric, Wednesdays super nerdy CFL centric, Tuesdays and Thursdays Wade and Connor are going to mess around. I have no idea what Fridays are going to be like. And I've worked with Kyle for five years, but the great thing about our show in the mornings on radio was that we'd start the show, we'd think it was going to end one place, and then we would just enjoy wherever it went and have fun. And so we're going to make it Canadian football centric because we have knowledge about this stuff, but we're also just going to have fun. And I hope that people appreciate that they're going to kind of get menu items from a variety of different places. If you enjoy listening to us be stupid idiots and have fun on a Friday, but you hate listening to me interview people because you think I ask dumb questions, great. Don't listen to Monday, listen to Friday. If you love numbers, but you hate stupid fun on Fridays, great. Listen to Wednesdays. And so the whole idea behind it is we'll give you all these options, and we're going to have consistent content that is going to be available for Canadian football fans. And I hope that people enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the thought of it, because I haven't actually done it yet, but it seems like it's been well received thus far.
Yeah, it's a great idea. CFL in the morning 5 days a week is like saying cake for breakfast, So what's wrong with that? I mean, what you're talking about exists in the States, right? For the NFL in 1,000 different places. Yeah. And it's so easy and accessible to get that kind of content. I agree with you. Canadian football is really lacking in its exposure. It's just hard to find things. It's hard to really get analysis, even if you're a casual fan and you just want some basic stuff. So yeah, someone had to do it, and I'm glad it's you, man. It's something I'm really looking forward to tuning into.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And it's the thing that you said there that I always find interesting is when people say, well, it exists in the States, right? Everything exists in the States. Like Pro Football Focus is doing a 10 times better job of what we're doing for analytics when it comes to breaking down the games. Okay, well, we don't have the manpower of $1 million budget, a television studio, Chris Collinsworth backing it, and like we don't have that. But there's no reason to say that we can't be a version of that. There's no shame in trying to build out something that is unique, that gives you some of the Pro Football Focus feel on Wednesdays, but it also gives you some radio feels on Fridays, right? And also gives you a unique interview show on Mondays. And I feel like it's exciting for me because I've always wanted to do something unique with Canadian football because it's such a great game with so many great people that deserve more attention and more love. And I think that there's a bigger audience out there that wants to love it. I just feel like it's been treated so poorly for so long on a variety of different platforms that if we can give them something that will ignite their fandom, even in a pandemic, coming out of a year where there's been no games, if people are this excited, can you imagine once we get to in season or we get to a regular year where the calendar goes from December is your start of free agency into January, February is the big free agency show. Then we get into combines in March. The draft is in April, May, preseason training camp, in season. We're riding all the way through. We get to the winter playoffs and hell, we're back to December. I mean, there's a content mill that is possible there that I feel like has been really undermined thus far. And I hope that people will dive in and subscribe and do everything they can to support it, because if they do, we're only going to give you more. You know what I mean? Like, we're not doing this to get rich. We're just trying to find a way to bring you the best quality Canadian football coverage possible.
Right on. Yeah, there's your mission statement right there. That's perfect, man. So again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 days of CFL coverage, courtesy of Marshall Ferguson, Kyle Mello, Derek Taylor. That's going to be awesome, man. We're really looking forward to it. I just had one other suggestion, though, before you broke the news about CFP Perspective. Oh, and by the way, best website in the game, for one reason only. If all of that wasn't enough for you, there is a CFP dog section where there's just pictures of dogs in CF. Like, come on. Like,
I am, for the people that are watching on YouTube, you can see the one love that I have here, which is my boy Remster. This is my fiance's Labradoodle, who's about 4 years old, who's the most loyal dog in the world. And the other dog that refuses to ever show her face on camera is my Husky Sky. And she is stubborn as can be, but she is as fun as it gets. And I have some dreams of being able, as I grow out this CFP stuff, to be able to leverage some of the partners and sponsors that hopefully we'll have to be donating food and products and things like that to local SPCAs, and also to be advertising for dogs that have been in shelters for more than a month, that need to get, off the concrete floor and make sure they get out and find themselves homes. And that's been a passion of mine that, again, I haven't really been able to mobilize in the things that I was doing, but now with this new outlet, hopefully we can turn some attention of all the people who love Canadian football onto that. And I want it to be this kind of fun house where, hopefully we get a beer sponsor on soon, and then we can have the combination of beer and football and dogs. And again, that's my heaven. That's my heaven. So I figure it'd be a lot of other people's heaven too.
Perfect. Yeah. If you're going to create your own job, just create your perfect life and then see if people will pay for it.
Surround yourself with the things that you like, and like-minded people will join up. Is kind of the idea that I have on that. So
that's a philosophy if I've ever heard one. Right on. My suggestion, though, I don't know if you're gonna be able to do it now because you're tied up with CFP, but I figured this was a perfect time to bring back wearemarshallferguson.wordpress.com.
Yeah, I was, it's funny. I was going through that website the other day, it was 2 days ago, actually, and I was looking for the picture of Ettore Latanzio tearing me to shreds.
Yes.
Because that was the only place that I knew it existed. That was a weird thing I did, man. I don't know why I did this, but it was the week leading up to the 2014 Vanier Cup where we had so much downtime in the hotel that 7 years ago, instead of watching more game film, which I obviously should have been doing, I decided to write out 1,000-word long WordPress articles on how I got to my final game ever. I don't know why I did it. There's a part of me that regrets doing it, but I also kind of love the idea that I was such an idiot in my final week of playing football that I thought that was the priority, which is funny to look back on as well. But yeah, that's a funny one. There's a lot of deep stuff there, and also a lot of stuff that I'm sure if I actually read the articles now would probably embarrass me, but regardless.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't read all the articles. I read one, maybe skimmed through the rest. But Hey, did you even like realize you were training yourself for your media career to come up?
I was hoping.
Right.
I wasn't sure what was around the corner at that point, but it's again, sometimes you do the things that you really enjoy, and sometimes they turn into a career, right? And
Right.
I've been crazy lucky, whether it's been at TSN or working with Canadian Football League, otherwise, where they see the passion that you have and they call you.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen a whole lot, right? There's a lot of us that have to reach out, and it's 50 resumes. And I've been very, very privileged in that sense, where the opportunities have been given to me, and I'm looking forward to battling for future opportunities and whatever comes my way. But it's that I think that's part of the reason why the first question you asked about how it's going after 11:50 shutdown. It's why I giggled, man. It's why I walked out the
Right.
door with a smile on my face, because I know how fortunate I have been, and I think having that appreciation is a really, really important part of kind of what has made me thus far throughout my career.
Yeah. Hey, that sounds like a good place to leave it. It sounds like you said it all. Marshall Ferguson, check him out on Twitter at Marshall Ferguson. Oh, there she is.
There you go. Yep, she made an
Perfect.
appearance. How about that, Sky? Yeah, way to go.
What an ending. Great spot to leave it. Check him out on Twitter. Make sure you check out Canadian Football Perspective. 5 days a week, CFL coverage. What is not to love? Thank you so much, Marshall Ferguson. I felt like I kind of should have let you host the thing. It's more your show than mine, I think. But there you go. That's Marshall Ferguson. Thank you once again, man.
Yeah, thank you, Duncan. I appreciate it. And all the best moving forward. And hey, keep the CFMU brand strong for me, okay?
Amen. And we're back from our interview with Marshall Ferguson. Thank you so much to him for joining the show, by the way. Former CFMU sports director, great Hamilton legend, sportscasting legend. So it was great to sit down and talk with him. But here we go. Let's start with our first topic with the three of us today. Back with Mark and Ryan here on the show. And we're going to talk about the Pebble Beach Open that happened February 11th to 14th, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that in that neighborhood. Close enough is good enough. Let's throw it over to Ryan. Ryan, what do you got to say on the Pebble Beach Open?
Yeah, we make our way out to California, February 11th to 14th. Yeah, it was a fun tournament. Purse of $7,800,000.
Yes, sir.
So definitely a wealthy pot. So we got our winner, Daniel Berger.
Mm-hmm.
He closed it off with he had a shaky couple days. On Saturday, he had a double bogey. He kind of slid down the leaderboard, but on the final day, he closed it up with a 31-foot eagle to seal the deal. Yeah, him and Lashley were battling it out in the final day, and Berger came out on top. And then we have my boy McNeely, 25-year-old Stanford graduate. Fun fact, he actually had a house on the 16th hole. It was like walk away from the 16th hole. And so apparently he had the home ice advantage.
Yeah.
He slowly climbed the leaderboards to finish off second in the entire tournament. And then we got Speith once again in the many couple tournaments. He's been climbing his way to the top. He's gained his confidence back. Mm-hmm. Finished 15 under. He was leading going into the final day, and a rough start to the day kind of ruined his chances. But I mean, he came out third, so tied for third with Cantlay, so you can't complain. Mm-hmm. Competing, he's staying there. Yeah, and then we got last but not least, Nate Lashley. Like I said before, him and Berger were competing entire final day. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for Lashley's blunder on the 16th hole, 4 putts will do that to you. And yeah, he kind of slid down to 5th. But once again, you can't be mad with the top 5 finish. So
no, top 5 finish is great, but yeah, golf is so tough because it's kind of like baseball. You take out the time element, and you just leave so much more room for disaster. Because guys can just shoot themselves in the foot by, like you said, taking 4 putts or missing a chip or sailing your drive on one of your last few holes, no matter how far up, you can always fall as far as possible straight down to the bottom. But still finishing top 5, that's amazing, especially at Pebble Beach, one of the notoriously tough courses on the tour. Probably my favorite. I liked Pebble Beach just as far as the look of the course, and it's cool. You get the California sunshine, and I like Pebble Beach.
I was looking at the layout, and for me, the 7th and the 18th hole, they're definitely the nicest. You get obviously the course, and then you get a huge view of just like the water. And as a golfer, I would love to play on those holes.
Yeah, I think there's about a 6-month wait list to get in to play Pebble Beach if you're guys like us.
And expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
Like a Mario stage.
Mario Kart stage?
It sounds like a Mario Kart.
Oh, sounds. I thought you said it is a Mario Kart stage. I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, Pebble Beach is beautiful. I don't know exactly. Do you know exactly where it is in California, either of you guys? But it's right on the water, and
apparently near Camel, wherever that is. Carmel. Sorry.
Carmel. Yeah, that's northern Carolina, California, maybe. I don't know my California so well, but it's gorgeous just looking at it on TV. There's a couple too. Wherever they play the RBC Open, I think that's on the East Coast, right? But that one's right on the water as well, and beautiful. Yeah, golf's a great sport to look at on TV.
Oh
you're always in kind of these big open areas that kind of a cool mix of nature, and you get the clubhouses in the background and all that stuff. But yeah, hey, Jordan Spieth, good to see him back in the top 3. We mentioned him last week as well in the Waste Management Open. He was just kind of starting to get his footing again. We talked about it last week, but it's nice to see these familiar faces who may have fallen down a little bit coming back and getting back on their feet. Other than that, not too many guys I recognize in the top 5.
I was watching an interview, and he was saying it's definitely a weird and nice feeling to be back at the top. He said it's been tough, like regaining that like confidence at like being at the top and going into the final day with the lead. He said like obviously the nerves has gotten him the last couple of days, but obviously if he keeps doing it, he keeps getting comfortable, then there's no doubt that he'll eventually win it. So
yeah. Hey, he's super talented, right? And when we saw him, winning all those titles and, the Masters and stuff, he was young. He was like 23 or something when he won his first Masters. So he's got a lot of time to, get better and come back at it. Not everyone can be Tiger Woods and dominate the sport for 20 years. You know what I mean? So guys get their ups and downs, and Jordan Spieth looks like he's headed back on the up and up. So happy for him there. Anything else?
I had a question for you guys.
Yes, sir.
So they obviously Lashley on the 16th hole, he had the 4 putts, he had the big blunder. So he wanted to get back up in the first, and they were talking about how he was making some moves that were kind of like dangerous, kind of iffy. When like he could have just taken the safe route and like just secured a top 5 finish. Obviously, it didn't affect him because he still finished top 5. But I wanted to know if you guys are in favor of the safe play, like just securing like a tie or whatever, or if you guys are willing to do like the dangerous play. So like pulling your goalie with like 4 minutes left instead of like a minute, or going for the 2-point conversion instead of just like the field goal at the end of the play. I wanted to know what you guys would do.
Mark, you go for it. I want to hear you say it.
Personally, I don't know. Real life, it's a little different. Like video games, I'm all for like sending it.
You always go for it on 4th down in Madden.
Yeah. I've never punted in my life. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'd go safe. I think I'd go for the safe route personally. I don't have the boots for that.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about golf, like we talked about it. It's not like win or loss. Like we talked about this earlier. Maybe it was on the show last week. Maybe it was in our prep meeting. But you go from like 1 to 3. That's a lot of money lost in the purse. And you go from 3 to 5. That's even like a lot more money. And you go from 5 all the way down. That's a significant amount of money. So I think with golf, if you need the money, if you're one of these, if you're not a Phil Mickelson or a Rory McIlroy and you need the money, maybe just hold on to your cards and ride it out in a top 5 finish, because that'll be a lot of money for you. And that's probably your year's salary if you're one of those guys. But sports like, the winner-loss sports, the team sports or whatever, I tend to be in favor of more aggressive play. I think, what the heck? Like, what are you doing if you're not trying to be out there winning games? That's the whole thing. So if you're not laying it on the line to go out and win every single game that you're presented with, then I think there's a problem in your organization or with your mentality. So, yeah, I think golf is kind of a specific case where I wouldn't chance it too much. If I was like, hey, I got $500,000 in my pocket, I'm not gonna shoot something crazy off the tee just to try to move up one spot.
Yep, I get that.
What about you? What do you think?
For me, I'm always about taking the chance, whether it's in the game or in real life. Because they were talking about it in golf. So there was one hole, he could have pulled at his 3-wood and kind of just laid up like close to the pin, or he could have like drove the tee and like who knows what would have happened. And I don't know. For me, I'm not that confident, but I probably would have done it anyway. So. Yeah, just things like that. When Patrick Waugh was the coach of the Colorado Avalanche, he used to pull the goalie at like 4 minutes left. And like lucky enough for him, it worked out for him. But obviously you have a coach that wants to win. And yeah, same with football. Like if you're going for the 2-point conversions, you want the tie, get it into overtime and all that stuff. And I'm all about it. Why not try to win? Make the moves necessary.
Yeah, you have to be careful with those kind of things in sports, though, because I think we've seen it go both ways. You talk about Patrick Roy with his strategy, and it worked, so it endears him to his players. But if you're one of those overzealous kind of coaches and you're just throwing stuff at the wall, eventually your players are going to figure out what's going on. And if you're losing games, they're not going to be happy. If you're winning, everyone's happy. That's the thing in sports. Winning cures all, so nobody really cares. But if you're Patrick Roy and you're pulling your goalie and you're getting scored on every time, what are you going to do?
It's like that Seahawks passing play in the Super Bowl.
Right.
That was definitely riskier.
Right. Yeah, that's the aggressive player there, right? And, people still haven't forgiven Pete Carroll and the Seahawks for that move.
That's forever.
But if they score on that play, nobody cares, right? So,
and he looks like a genius for running a passing play.
Right. And part of that is guys like us. It's our fault for, doing the double-edged sword where we kind of don't recognize that if that play scores, then we don't really care that much. So maybe a little bit over analysis, but yeah, if you're gonna do it, make sure it works. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's kind of no way to do that, but risk it with your best cards. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other stuff you got on the Pebble Beach stuff? Any other questions? That was good.
No.
Yeah, I like talking about the golf stuff. It makes me feel relaxed.
I love golf. I miss it.
I miss golfing too. I don't golf that much. I'm not very good at it, but pitch and putt is my thing. There's a few pitch and putt courses in Vancouver that I like to play with my friends. Just
awesome.
Nice short holes. I don't like the long holes because if you screw yourself, you have to play for a while to get out of it. But pitch and putt, it's only like 100 yards, so you can give up whenever you want.
Yeah.
Basically.
I know a golfer's worst enemy. There was a lot of water in Pebble Beach, so either get it on the pin or you're swimming to find your ball. So
the water's just sad. That's when golf gets hard to watch, is when you see the guy banging into the water and you're like, okay, whatever you do, just don't do it again. And then they do it for the second time and you're like, oh man, you just feel embarrassed for the guy.
Yeah. They actually made a new rule. Actually, that's something to talk about. They made a new rule where if you were in the penalty area, you used to have to like pick it up and like bring it back into the the playing area. But now this year, if it's in the penalty area but it's playable, you can choose. You can choose whether to play it from that area or pick it up and take the penalty. And Lashley, he ended up like in like the rocks, like right next to the water. But because it was like a low tide day, he could play it. So he chose to play it. And I mean, I think he ended up bogeying or parring the hole, but that's obviously better than picking it up and taking the 2-stroke or 1-stroke penalty. So
yeah, I think it's 1 stroke, but that's a significant penalty. Like, that's tough. And I like that though. I mean, why not give the guys, if you can shoot it and you think you got a chance at hitting it, then why not give them the shot? Absolutely. I'm a fan of that. That's cool. All right. Great talk on Pebble Beach there, Ryan. That was good stuff. Our golf correspondent, as always, out there in the field. Not really. He's just at home like the rest of us. But he's gathering the good information. And that's what we like to see. All right. Let's go on to our draft of the... Mark, are you plugging something in right now? What's going on?
Yeah, my laptop's about to die. Sorry.
All right. Hey, no worries. We'd like you to stay online. So go ahead and figure that out. While I introduce our draft of the week. As I mentioned earlier, Ryan actually picked out a Bleacher Report article, players we'd like to see ring chase. So we're basing our draft of the week off of that this week. We're going to go 3 rounds hopefully this week, if everyone has enough stuff on their list. We'll see how it goes though. We got plenty of time today, so we'll just take it nice and slow and talk about some guys we'd like to see chase a championship. Who wants to start? Anyone? Any volunteers? Let's go like that.
I'll start.
All right, Mark's going to start. Good stuff.
I'm going to say I'd like Derrick Rose to go in.
Oh, you had Derrick Rose also?
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah. I just feel like he's a player that has always been like a good professional, just humble, and has always been hardworking. I feel like his career has been just cursed with injuries and kind of out of his control. So, I think he's definitely a good asset for any team. Like, he's still putting up numbers with the Knicks. And so, I think I'd just like for him to get a ring. He was a special player when he was healthy. So
totally. I mean, you look at the way guys talk about Derrick Rose too. Even today, people love Derrick Rose. So, if someone's putting together a super team and maybe you need that 4th guy, or that Sean Livingston type of player, people would love to have Derrick Rose on their team. You just hear the way people talk about him. Absolutely. Totally derailed by injury. Just one of the worst cases of derailed by injury we've seen in basketball, at least. And it's amazing he's managed to hang around. I didn't think he was going to be in the league this long, to be honest with you guys. I thought he was done and out. Some people said the Knicks... Yeah, go for it.
There's a lot of mental toughness to kind of stick around after all that.
Ton. Yeah, and you see it, like, he's steely. He still goes out there and he's adjusted, which is important for these kind of guys who were superstars once upon a time. You have to be able to adjust to your new scenario. And he's always done that perfectly. The T-Wolves, and then going to Detroit, you never hear anything from him. So big fan of Derrick Rose. Some people said the Knicks thing was a ring chase, but I think we're all getting a little too excited on the Knicks. Maybe I think that's the New York bias coming out. As soon as the Knicks win more than 20 games, they're officially on the championship path. Ryan, you also had Derrick Rose on your list, it looks like. What do you think of the man?
I love D Rose. Oh my gosh, such an energetic player when he was on Chicago. He still is. He's the youngest MVP. That 50-point game with Minnesota, you've seen the emotion, you've seen his love for the game. I'd love to see him ring chase. I know he kind of did with the Cavs. I guess Braun told him that he was going to take him to the championship, but it didn't really work out that way. A really deserving player. He definitely keeps his emotions in check, and he looks out for people that are close around him. I know he has that contract with his brother. Definitely a player I'd like to see.
Yeah, we're all in agreement there. Ryan, give us your first pick.
All right. I guess I'll keep it with basketball. My boy JJ Reddick. So that guy had, or I think he still has, I think you can consider last year with the Pelicans kind of making the playoffs, his consecutive playoff thing he's got going on. Such an efficient shooter. I've always loved JJ Reddick. Every team he goes to, he knows his role. And he's such a good guy. He's even got a podcast himself. So shout out to that guy. So yeah, and he's getting up there in age. He's 36. So I'd like to see him go to a team where he can compete and win a chip.
Yeah, totally. I was hoping it would work out for him in Philly, getting a ring there, but didn't quite. Yeah, JJ Reddick, the once upon a time Dookie that we all hated, except Mark, I guess, big Duke guy. But yeah, I think it's all turned around on JJ Reddick, and he's kind of universally loved, like a Derrick Rose. So totally, I would love to see JJ Reddick be on a championship roster. Mark, any thoughts on JJ Reddick?
No, yeah, just after listening to his podcast, I think just all his interviews with players from around the league, like everyone kind of respects him. A lot of the young guys like look up to him.
Yeah.
Like I think he had an interview with Ingram, and just kind of like the not really father figure role, but kind of like a mentor.
Definitely.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, the respect that they have for him. I think that like speaks volumes to like his character and his like leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he talks about some of the stuff he does with Lonzo as well, just staying on him to fix his shot, and he seems like a big veteran presence down there in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think one of my favorite stories of JJ Reddick was when he was on Philly and Markelle Fultz was going through his whole like shooting slump thing with his shoulder, and the media was just like ripping him apart. And like one shoot around, like he saw like a bunch of media just like videotaping Markelle when he was shooting by himself, and like he walked up to all of them and told him to like F off and like leave him alone, like he's just 19.
Yeah.
And like I think that was just like super cool to do for a teammate that you like barely know right now. It's just
yeah, JJ Reddick, another great guy. Totally. We're all in agreement again. I'm gonna go cross sports here, since we went basketball the first two times. I'm gonna go with another JJ. I'm gonna go JJ Watt. Yes, sir. Newly minted free agent, JJ Watt. Yeah, he's available. This one is the most ready to happen right now, as it is. Yeah, JJ Watt got stuck in Houston for years and years and years. Went to the playoffs a couple times, but other than that, has been kind of stuck in crappy teams in Houston, and especially in the last couple of years, they've been a horrible train wreck. And he's one of my favorite all-time players that I've watched on TV. Yeah, JJ Watt needs to go somewhere where he can at least get significantly deep into the playoffs, whether that's the Packers or the Bills or someone else. But I would love to see JJ Watt stand atop a podium with a trophy.
They're saying that there's big talks with Cleveland, and I don't know a ton about Cleveland, but if they got Watt back and then either they got Odell Beckham Jr. back or they traded him off for a good piece, I don't see why Cleveland wouldn't make strides to make it to the finals.
Yeah, that would be huge for Cleveland too. It's been a long time since anyone came there in free agency. People used to stay away from that like the plague. Kind
of like a Toronto.
Yeah, well, like a Toronto, except it wasn't that. It was in Canada. It's just that they were so bad, so awful. Yep. No one's had a problem with how bad the Toronto Raptors have been. It's just the geography problem. But Cleveland has a geography problem and a stinking problem. So, yeah, but this would be huge for Cleveland. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good JJ Watt spot. Cleveland, they could definitely use him. Everyone could use him. What was that?
D-line would be dangerous, like him and Myles Garrett.
Very dangerous. Yeah, Myles Garrett, Larry Ogunjobi, who's an underrated D tackle. Yeah, I love those guys on defense. Yeah, Cleveland would be good. I keep an eye on the Packers, though. He's from Wisconsin, so never know. University of Wisconsin. Cheeseheads. Yes, good stuff. All right, Mark, give us your second pick.
Hey, my second pick was going to be JJ.
Not anymore.
I'll stick with. I'll go Adrian Peterson.
AP.
Okay.
I haven't watched a lot of his games. I just read an article like 2 minutes ago, and his name popped. And so I just remember from his prime days, similar to what like Derrick Rose like the kind of respect he has around the league, of just like the professionalism and the hard worker that he is. I don't think he has a ring right now. He was a great running back when he was in his prime. So,
Yeah,
hey man, go get yourself a ring.
yeah. Another guy who got stuck on a bunch of crap teams. He was with those Vikings teams from 2007 to 2015-ish, 2016 maybe. Yeah, Adrian Peterson in his prime was a monster. Awesome watching him growing up, and he's still great. He still looks good. He's like 34, 35, and he still looks nice. You know, had 700 or so yards last year.
Can I give an honorable mention to a player that I'd like to also get a ring?
We're not even done round 2
No,
yet. You can't give honorable mention
You
yet.
might steal mine.
I don't think
You can't
anyone's
have, you can't have 2 picks in a row. You can do honorable mentions
yeah,
at the end.
no.
Save it for the end. That's a good pick. Adrian Peterson though. Ryan, your second pick.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it with football because
All
I do have a player on there. His name is Quintoris Lopez Julio Jones.
Ah, yes. Quintorius.
That's his whole name?
Yep.
Yeah,
His real name's
I looked it up.
Quintorius.
Yeah, he's 32.
Yeah.
And he's with a doomed Falcons team. The 28-3. Yeah, just looking at his stats, I always knew he was crazy. But he's got like 13,000 career yards receiving. So yeah, and he's constantly like contributing to his team. He's got 60 career touchdowns. So I mean, that's another player who's been stuck on a team for a really long time, and he deserves to go to a spot that will help him win.
Yeah, I liked him in Atlanta for a long time. But hey, this Falcons team is headed into a rebuild. They have to be. Matt Ryan's at the end of his career. They're gonna have to blow this thing up soon, and I hope Julio gets out before that happens. Because make no mistake about it, Julio Jones is still the best receiver in football, and he has been for about 4 or 5 years, and never gets the respect he deserves. But never talks any noise. Never in the media, never a problem. Great professional guy, like we've talked about. It's kind of the theme with all these guys, is they're just great professionals and great dudes. Julio needs a ring, and he needs to get to a situation where someone can get him the ball the way he deserves.
There was another player that they were comparing him to, and it was like them like hailing each other up, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to stick with the same team that's going to ruin our career?" And the other guy was like, "Yep." So is there another receiver that's like really good that's stuck on a trash team?
Is it a Bengals guy?
Maybe. I don't know. But I know
That's
there was
tough.
another player that they were comparing him to.
There's a lot of good receivers on a lot of crap teams.
Yeah.
That's the problem with football. So many good guys, and it's hard to get away from your team. But yeah, Julio Jones, definitely. He was on my list too. I probably would have taken him next. But for my next pick, I'm going to go a little under the radar. I'm going to go LaMarcus Aldridge. Playing with the San Antonio Spurs right now, another team that's kind of headed into a rebuild situation. I think they are. Kind of hard to say. They're still doing okay. But LaMarcus Aldridge with Portland for all those years was awesome. One of the best power forwards in the game. Kind of got lost in the shuffle of LeBron, Tim Duncan, all those guys, the end of Kevin Garnett era. I love LaMarcus Aldridge. I think he's been dominant for a long, long time. Maybe not so much anymore, but I'd like to see him go, maybe be like your third or fourth piece on a championship team, and I think he could fit into that role very well. It doesn't seem like he has too much of an ego. LaMarcus Aldridge, a guy I've been a fan of for a long, long time.
I think him along with DeMar DeRozan are two guys that I wouldn't mind going back to their teams to finish off their career. I think DeMar could help out Toronto. I don't know if it would work out as well as Aldridge on the Trailblazers would be, because I know they don't have a lot of bigs. I know Nurkic, every time you think he's healthy and he's going to contribute to the team, he always gets hurt. So Aldridge could be that guy to come back in. But yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's move a little faster. On to round 3. Mark, please tell me you have a round 3.
I do have round 3.
Right.
You named him just now, DeMar DeRozan. I think he's still playing really well. Like, he's having a really good season right now. I don't know, that Spurs team doesn't seem like it has the juice to really do anything in the playoffs. But yeah, I was just thinking about it right now. I think if he went to Portland, he teamed up with like Dame, CJ, and then you have DeRozan as like a third option.
Mm-hmm.
Like I found that a big problem for Portland was that too much of the weight was on Dame in the playoffs, and like teams were able to single him out and like find ways to defend that. So if you had like DeMar as like a third option to kind of take some pressure off of him, I think it'd be like a good asset. And I don't think they have a good three or a small forward right now.
No, not really.
Derek Jones Jr., but
yeah,
he's not DeMar.
No, when you've been on 78 teams in 3 years like Derek Jones has, you're probably not that great.
Yeah.
You certainly know DeMar DeRozan. So yeah, good pick there. You even gave him a team to go to. I like that.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan we all love, of course. Toronto area guy. Yeah, great player still. Kind of another guy who's getting forgotten about in San Antonio, but great player. Ryan, you're up.
All right. I'm going to go with Mike Trout. I feel like that guy is doomed out in the LA Angels. He just locked up himself for like 11 years, like biggest contract in the world. And I feel bad for him because he's definitely the best player in baseball. I don't know if you guys have ever like watched him on TV or seen him in person, but I remember watching a Blue Jays game versus the Angels, and he literally just walks up and goes, "Okay, where do you want this home run placed?" And he just like knocks it out of the park. He's such a force even on the field. Like he's just crazy, and like he's so clearly the best player in baseball, and he's just stuck on such a crap team that has like no money and no real pieces to add to that team. So I mean, he's 29, so like he's still like in his prime, but like he's definitely, I mean, he's locked up until he's like late 30s. So unless the Angels can put a team around him, then I feel like he's going to go ringless.
Yeah, baseball's tough because you give such a massive contract to one guy, and then you wonder why you have no money. They gave him like $400 million or something, so of course they're kind of stuck under the salary cap a little bit, or stuck for cash. But yeah, baseball's a tough one because we saw like Bryce Harper, is that his name? Bryce Harper, left to go ring chase with the Washington Nationals, and then his old team wins the pennant the next year. So yeah, baseball's a little tricky. The big salary numbers give you trouble sometimes. But yeah, Mike Trout, awesome player, and just talk about forgotten about in Anaheim over there. Just knocking stuff out of the park every day of the week, and never gets the respect he deserves. And yeah, doesn't seem like he's gonna get a ring anytime soon with the situation they got going on there. All right, my third pick and the final pick of the draft. We're actually gonna make it through 3 rounds. This one's tough. I think I'm gonna go with Karl Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's 24 years old, so doesn't really fall under the list of the rest of the guys we talked about, but the Timberwolves suck so bad, and Karl Anthony Towns is so good that I think he needs to leave as soon as possible. He shouldn't be the number 1 option on a team. I would love to see him go somewhere where he could be the number 2 guy, and like D'Angelo Russell is not your number 1 guy, and he's not your number 2 guy when your number 1 guy is Karl Anthony Towns. It's just not working. So I think Big Cat needs to get out of there, get to a situation where he can be the really awesome number 2 guy and just go dominate at the center position. So there you go. That's my third pick.
It's a good pick.
Solid. Thank you guys. Mark, your honorable mention. You can give it to us now.
He's a retired football player,
okay.
But someone said Julio Jones, and I just thought of Megatron.
Megatron. I also thought of Megatron. Just inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I was super he retired.
Yeah. That was awful the way the Lions treated him, and he got run out of town there basically. But yeah, I'd love to see Calvin Johnson come back. He still looks like he can play. He was in the Hall of Fame induction stuff at the Super Bowl, and he still looks good. Still looks like he could go strap it up out there. So come back, Megatron. We miss you. There we go. Look at that. We made it through a show. Only 35 minutes with you guys today. But it was good. It was good stuff. Nice, relaxing reading week style show. How do you guys feel about it?
Not bad.
Happy?
Yeah, pretty well.
All right. then we'll end it. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you to Mark and Ryan for joining us today. Special thank you to Marshall Ferguson for joining the show. It was great to sit down and talk with him. We are on YouTube, youtube.com/Marauder Morning. Please go check us out there. We have a website, cfmu.ca. You can search us up. We're called Marauder Morning. And if you're in the Hamilton area, we are on your FM dial, 93.3 CFMU. And that's all we got for you today. And we'll see you next week. Stay safe, everybody.